I know the blood these streets have soaked of soldiers, children, and pub fights. I name the ghosts that walk about the dim-lit pavements of the night, the little commerced alleyways, too narrow for this age, and that we can't commemorate. It fills my soul with rage.
Would you like to tell me the latest instalment, what's happening with Muir Street?
Well, work has commenced on the 4 buildings, but there's a great mystery attached to what's going on. We don't know under what plan the work has been implemented. We don't know whether it involves demolitions. The suspicion was that it was about to include demolitions because the hoarding that you see there stretches beyond the 4 buildings that comprise the National Monument.
Okay.
So the suspicion was that a demolition programme was about to commence on buildings that we know are pre-16 buildings.
Okay.
And that's quite apart from the fact that the entire terrace should be restored and preserved, because the entire terrace, as you know, comprises the last headquarters of the provisional government. So basically, people occupied the site, disparate groups occupied the site because they fear the demolition programme is about to take place. The 1916 Relatives Association, who were promised a viewing of the plan and promised a discussion with the senior conservation architect, that meeting never took place. So work commenced without any meaningful consultation with the department or with the minister, and the minister has described the buildings as fragile, yet at the same time there is tacked across the 4 buildings an advertising banner. So that needs to be addressed. So we're very concerned on a number of issues. Basically, consultations must take place. Have the state their own plan to restore the buildings, or is this simply a rehash of the developer's plan? All these issues have to be addressed before we can move forward in any meaningful way.
Well, we did have a topical issue with Minister Humphreys on Thursday afternoon in the Dáil, and one of the points I was making was to know where the conservation architect is. You know, why that person is not on site here all the time to ensure that what's going on in 14 to 17 and beside it is not damaging really important aspects of the buildings. We still don't have any answer to that. So the relatives came down on Friday with their own conservation experts, and they, with the group of us from the Dáil and the Lord Mayor of Dublin, tried to get entrance into it. Now, there was only a small group of us. We were really anxious for the conservation people to go right in. We were prepared to kind of wait on the outs and just in the site office, but it was like a stalemate, deadlock, and it was done kind of in a very undignified, stealthy sort of way. So I can totally understand where the protest came from, and it's well that it did, because it is putting the attention on this that it hasn't been getting. You know, only 4 of the support group are here every Saturday, the relatives group, and a few of us who are supporting them. We don't know enough, and people don't know enough about what has been going on here, and the way in which there was deliberate dereliction and deliberate neglect of this street. And it could be just a wonderful cultural, historical quarter.
I can tell you what we do know. What we do know is that there's a government, a High Court injunction on any demolition until February the 2nd. But at the same time, we don't know what work has been going on. Work has been going on there. We've heard drilling, we've heard grinding. The government has not, as they should have done, posted a list of the work that they're doing, and they've been treating people who've made inquiries with really high-handedly and contempt. So we hope that on the 2nd, the state will prevent any further destruction here, and that in time this whole terrace will become a monument that people can actually walk through and relive the experience of the GPO garrison as they fled the GPO in 1916.
Asleep, alas, and where may Erin weep when Connacht lies in slumber deep? Her lake and plains smile fair and free, mid rocks their guardian chivalry.
I was in Kilmainham jail when they opened it to the public one of the first times. It wasn't the government or any government agency that saved Kilmainham Jail from falling into rack and ruin. It was the families and the people of Dublin who put the roof back on that place and opened it up as a museum. The people, not the government, not the government. It was in Wood Quay when they poured 1 billion tonnes of concrete onto the ancient ruins of this city. And just to add insult to injury, what did they put on top of it? The planning office. It doesn't get any more cynical and stupid and ignorant and short-sighted than the governments that we've had over the last 20 years.
Out of what's happened in the last 10 days, with the lock-in occupation, and then subsequently the judicial review, the undertaking not to do any works, even though that's now been misinterpreted by the government to say they won't do any demolition, but we know that works are going on inside, a bit of concern. And then the lockout of the Lord Mayor on Friday, and a number of TDs were prevented with independent conservation architects from actually having a view of the site. In addition to the leaders that played such an important role in the 1916 Rising, we also must remember that there were over 300 men and a number of women who occupied these entire terraces.
The whole terrace?
The whole terrace. And that's who we need to honour for all that they did. There has been criticism from various quarters about the actions that have taken place here. I would say categorically that the people who were involved in the occupation on the terrace here took greater care of the buildings in the days that they were there than the care that was evident from the action that had been carried out by the builders. It did not seem to be in any way of a high standard in terms of conservation architecture, in terms of conservation construction, discovery, surveying. None of that seemed to be evident at all. The buildings were left open to the elements on very stormy nights. There was no care given whatsoever, and it has caused great concern, and that's caused great concern to the activists who were involved. Before they finally came out, a small number stayed with a couple of councillors, and categorically the engineer stated, witnessed by some of the councillors from Dublin City Council, that they left the place in better state than it was when they went into it, and ensured that it was safer and cleaner than it had been.
Sing, oh, let man learn liberty from crashing wind.
And these buildings here are a testament and a monument to who we are. They stand for something. They stand for everything. They're not just empty, dead shells. They contain all our memories and our hearts and our souls. If you're looking for the heart of any city, and Dublin is a well-travelled city, it's in every tour guide book, in the top 10 every place for destinations to go to every single year. And the heart and soul of Dublin City is right here on this street. And they want to cut the heart and soul out of it, because they want to cut the heart and soul out of all the Irish people. They want to turn us into nothing but dumbass consumers.
Sing, oh, not even song's disgrace could quite destroy their glory's trace. For often in O'Connor's fan to triumph crashed each Connacht clan, and fleet is Dia the Normans ran through Corsley Pass and Ardrahan, and later times saw deeds as brave and glory God's clan Ricard's grave. Sing, oh, they died their land to save at Auchrom's close and Shannon's way.
People I want to say hello to is Robin Healy. I hope her health problem, I hope she's getting over it. Also, our great friend Maeve O'Leary, who's out in the bush at the moment in the Red Spider, she tells me this morning, but we'll be looking at Spielberg's video of this later on. And everybody, there's Colleen Nugent in America, in Chicago, all right? The only time Luke Kelly actually ever sang Score and Simplicity was on a TV show called The Jim McCann Man. It's just there was a silence after Luke sang the song, naturally enough. And afterwards, we were all at the bar, and I said, have you any recitation that you really meant something to you to do? And this is what he gave me, and he said, I don't want you ever to repeat this, Proinsias, until after I pass. It's just a good thing that God above has never gone on strike. For the people that he did not want, and the people that he did not like. If ever once he sat down and he said, that's it, I'm through, I'm finished with all you on earth. So this is what I'm going to do. I'll give my orders to the sun, cut off your heat supply, and to the moon give no more light, and run the oceans dry. And just to make it tough and really put the pressure on, I'll turn off all the oxygen, so every breath is gone. Do you know he would be justified if fairness was the game? For no one has been more abused and treated with disdain. But yet he goes on, carrying you and me with all the favours of his grace and everything for free. Men say they want a better deal, and so on strike they go. But what a deal with giving himself for everything we owe. We don't care whom we hurt or harm to gain the things we want. But what a mess we'd all be in if himself were to go on strike. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks very much for coming here today. I really appreciate it. And when people see people coming in here on a Sunday, it means an awful lot. Sinead, enjoy the day. God bless you.
My people loved and died within the ambit of these narrow streets, and for the nation that they raised, they've left their ghosts to greet. The seekers who would find the truth, to know from whence they came. They gave the lifeblood of their youth to perish in her name.